Taboos are something that I find really interesting because groups, companies, a group of people, society, whatever, just stays silent or is very cautious about discussing certain things, right? That are maybe really important, but there is some merit to it to not talk about some stuff, right? And this leads to certain problems at companies where people try to work with each other pretty efficiently, effectively, and things bubble up all the time where it's not clear why is that, what are we doing wrong, right? So I think in companies in general, it's more of this risk aversion thing, right? So companies like to control things, and if some change or some measurement is not relieving stress immediately, or yeah, instant relief or short-term gains, uh, but maybe would even cause more stress, that's most of the time not something that the company is willing to do, right? So um, I think that's one of the problems at companies with taboos. And but these hidden issues aren't resolving themselves, right? So it's just keeping them hidden doesn't make it go away. It bubbles up all the time. So I have for my this is something that I personally believe in. I think that I identified two categories of taboos right now that is bothering me a lot. The one thing is the intuition thing. This whole you should not talk about emotions, feelings or such a thing. It's about business objectivity, things that we can measure, metrics, stuff like this. The second thing that I feel like is a big taboo is salary in general and what the expenses are of a company. Um, yeah, in both cases, there is some merit to that, right? So I understand why this is happening to a certain degree. So because you don't want to bomb a meeting with your rants, or emotional rant, to disturb people that having good conversations with just emotional stuff that isn't leading to a solution all the time, right? So um, it's not something that everyone would appreciate, in my opinion. The second thing is with the salary stuff. I get that just comparing salaries to your colleagues or so isn't helping you move along at your journey through the company or at the project. But I have a quite different perspective on that. I think that we should really focus on those things because um, the first one with the emotion side of things, it, for me it feels wrong to not um, try to include way more of this side of us at work, because work is such a huge part of our day and life in general. I spend way more time at work than with my spouse, right? So it's not something that I can ignore. So you have so much time at work. How can you ignore the emotional side of your brain, of yourself? So ignoring that will bite us after work, or haunt us even more. Um, with the salary thing, it's so intransparent, man. It's crazy. So, and in my opinion, and I asked so many people already, and we have things going on. The company also is related to that. Um, uh, this fear of an outcry of all the employees. Wait, we're not treated right. It's unfair. What are you doing the whole time? So this fear of that reaction is immense, and it's not a good, easily controllable thing that I mentioned in the beginning. So, um, but first of all, I think that fear is such a bad helping hand in decision making. So I doubt that doubt that this is a good way to go. And secondly, if there is such an unexplainable discrepancy between employees, for whatever reason you cannot explain this should be fixed immediately. More often than not, people are talking to each other, right? So because you want to know where you stand in relation to your colleagues and in general on the marketplace and so on. So you talk about this either way. You should fix it. If it's that wrong and that unfair, it should not stand by just hidden behind closed doors the whole time. It's just making everyone nervous otherwise. So I think this should be fixed immediately then. So there's no argument to that. And this fear thing I understand, but I don't think that this is a good guide. So I think that not dealing with those issues, and I mentioned this already, leads to a very reactive behavior, because all those underlying problems are bubbling up all the time on the surface. And no one really has time to deal with that. So everyone is just doing something about that. If an employee is getting angry because he knows he gets underpaid, or if you have someone who's near burnout, or just depressed, or then something is not alright because of family issues, and you can't work with that. You can't do much about that. There is no help for you. So things like this have an impact, right? So it just leads to reactive behavior, because everyone on the management team or CEOs and so on, they need to deal with that then immediately, spontaneously, and can't do anything else, or they just let it happen, and maybe something gets resolved or not. So this intervenes with real change. We should reflect, in my opinion, on our principles and proactively change those circumstances. It's something that we need to actively pursue.